Hello, today is November 14th, and welcome to Sked Live. I am one of your hosts, Kaylee Annetts.
And I'm Daniel Plant. Here's what's making news today.
A 5-car pileup on the 401 near Winston Churchill Drive in Mississauga has left one man dead and others in hospital. CP24 reported that the incident occurred around 5:30 in the evening on Sunday and closed the highway for several hours. The man who died has been identified as a resident of Milton, but his name has not yet been released. The passenger in the victim's car suffered serious injuries. 13 other people were treated for minor injuries. OPP are asking for more witnesses with any information to come forward. Protests against President-elect Donald Trump have come to Toronto. On Sunday, around 300 people marched downtown bearing a banner reading, "Make Racists Afraid Again." They gathered at Nathan Phillips Square and marched all the way to the American Consulate on University Avenue, where they stayed for a quarter of an hour. Speakers included members of the immigrant and LGBTQ community. Many were concerned with how Trump's policies may affect Canada. For 5 straight days, anti-Trump protests have gone across the U.S., with rallies turning violent in Portland, resulting in 71 people being arrested. Trump has addressed these protesters, telling them not to worry and that he will be bringing their America back. Skedline reporter Cabrina Robinson covered the Toronto protests. Check out her photo gallery at skedline.com.
Carrying on with Trump news, the president-elect has selected Reince Priebus as White House Chief of Staff and Steve Bannon as Chief Strategist and Senior Counselor. Priebus previously served as the chairman of the Republican National Committee. He is credited with organizing Trump's ground game during the election. He is also known to be a bridge builder among different factions of the Republican Party. Bannon is the former executive chairman of Breitbart News, a media outlet often noted for its alt-right and white nationalist movement. He has been in conflict with establishment Republicans and was the Trump campaign CEO. Priebus said he and Bannon will be an effective team together. Trump spoke to Leslie Stahl on CBS's 60 Minutes last night. During the interview, Trump said he would appoint a pro-life judge to the Supreme Court. Trump also said if Roe v. Wade is overturned, the decision to allow abortions would belong to the states. Trump also took the opportunity to speak to his supporters who are committing hate crimes, telling them to stop it. The Islamic State is going to use Trump's victory as a recruitment tool. ISIS has said Trump's position on Muslims, such as ceasing immigration, will help their efforts, particularly in recruiting youth in the West. Trump has promised to destroy ISIS, but has yet to release the plans to do so. And now to Alyssa and Sam with Business and Technology News.
Thanks, Dan and Kaylee. I'm Melissa Croson.
And I'm Sam Layden.
And it's time for Business and Technology News.
President-elect Donald J. Trump is a title the majority of us are coming to terms with. But Trump's policies in the business and tech realm could have the world dealing with much more than just his new handle. From cell phones keeping us connected on social media all the way to things that help us fight climate change, technology plays a massive role in our lives. But the inevitability of Trump leading the free world could change the way that role is in a drastic way.
According to a 2012 tweet, Trump says climate change was a concept made up by China to encourage a less competitive manufacturing industry. And now Trump is saying he's looking at making a 4-year plan to withdraw from the Paris climate deal, which the U.S. agreed to be a part of last year. Now, if you're wondering what the Paris climate deal is, it's basically a contract signed by 200 countries, binding them in a promise to cut carbon emissions down enough to bring the global temperature down from 2 degrees Celsius to 1.5 degrees Celsius.
And the U.S. accounts for the largest emissions of CO2 in the world, releasing 18 tons of carbon in 2010 alone. If Trump does withdraw from the deal, it's frightening to say what it could mean for the rest of the world. But something Trump doesn't seem to know about the Paris Accord is that it grants tax breaks to businesses using renewable energy. So we could actually be helping the world while still being able to avoid more taxes.
In terms of U.S. manufacturing, Trump has made it clear he won't allow businesses to outsource jobs from America. He made it especially clear when he said back in March that he wants Apple to make their damn computers here in America.
And logistically, President Trump wouldn't have the power to control where the businesses make their products, but he can still impose tariffs on those products to make shipping more expensive. And beyond that, even if Apple and other companies started manufacturing their products locally, it would increase the prices of purchases made internationally, lowering their ability to stay competitive in a global market.
The stock market has sustained interesting trends since the election results, too. Many companies saw a dip in their shares in the last couple days leading up to election night. This could be due to the uncertainty that comes with an inevitable new leader. But after the results, stocks started to rise and stay steady. The Dow hit an all-time high on Wednesday after the election.
And according to The Atlantic, experts say it could be attributed to something called Trump trades, which are bets made in companies more likely to thrive in decreased regulation, reduced global trade, and anti-climate change policies under a Trump administration. And while those businesses begin to see a thriving environment, businesses involved in renewable energy and healthcare are still seeing a slide in stocks post-Trump election.
Now, if you want a break from U.S. political drama and you're in the city today, you might be able to spot Canada's poster boy. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is in Toronto today to speak to the world's most influential financial investors about a proposed budget for infrastructure. 24 representatives will be at the summit to listen to Trudeau and 9 members of his cabinet about what Canada has to offer. The Canadian government proposed earlier this month that they would set up an infrastructure bank and give it access to about $35 billion to help fund projects. Trudeau and Financial Minister Bill Morneau are meeting with private investors ahead of the bank launch, which they hope to get up and running next year. They want to attract investment from Canada's pension plans, such as the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board and the Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan. No specific projects have been announced, but Trudeau, Morneau, and Infrastructure Minister Amarjeet Sohi are expected to talk about toll bridges, energy grids, and water systems.
Considering Trudeau's values in climate control, he may have some beef with Volkswagen. Their luxury Audi vehicles don't meet industry standards for CO2 emissions, and they've been lying about it for years. Audi's automatic transmission cars have a software installed causing them to behave differently when they're being tested for CO2 emissions. German newspapers revealed that last week, California Air Resources Board discovered the software in an older Audi model over the summer. And the software has the ability to detect testing conditions based on steering and wheel movement, so the car can adjust to release less emissions as the test is taking place. Volkswagen hasn't admitted which models have the software installed, and there's no talk of any recalls at this point, even though the automakers have said the Environmental Protection Agency has known all about it since July.
Regardless of their scandal, at least Audi isn't going bankrupt. American Apparel is filing for bankruptcy protection today for the second time in just over a year. This comes as a result of the company's declining sales and the rise of online shopping. Known for their controversial sexualized advertising and clothing, American Apparel has listed their assets and liabilities between $100 to $500 million, according to the Delaware court filing. Canadian apparel maker Gildan Activewear is proposing to buy intellectual property rights related to the American Apparel brand for about $66 million. Gildan will not be purchasing any of their retail locations, they said in a statement released today. The company has stated that any deal must keep the manufacturing in the U.S.
But if fashion biz drama doesn't matter much to you and you're just a gamer, the price for Nintendo's newest gaming console, the Nintendo Switch, was just announced today. In the UK, Nintendo has put the stock price at 199 British pounds, which means the console in Canada and the US could be possibly $300 or more. Nintendo announced their latest invention in October this year and showcased its various new features, like doubling as an in-home console and a fully portable gaming station. They hope to release it in March of 2017.
Now back to Kaylee and Dan for more news.
Thanks, Sam and Alyssa. A photo regarding Taylor Swift's sexual assault court case was leaked over the weekend by TMZ. Inquisitor has reported the photo, which seems to be leaked by TMZ alone, has been circulating online since Saturday. Although it was known the celebrity was in court over the charges, the photo has not been released to the public. Swift filed a lawsuit after a 2013 incident where a Colorado radio host groped her during a photo op. The host has filed a countersuit for defamatory statements after being let go from his radio position. Now to Robert and Nelson for our sports panel.
Thanks, Kaylee. The Humber Hawks men's soccer team wins their 4th national championship in 5 years this weekend in Fort McMurray, Alberta. They defeated the hometown team, Keanu Huskies, 2-0 to claim the CCAA national championship with goals by Jordan Piccin and Kingsley Boyasiako. The Hawks went the whole tournament without conceding 1 goal, something that is easier said than done. The championship title gives the Hawks their 6th national title in program history, tying Capilano for most in the country. So Rob, is it time to change the name of Ireland's big festival to St. Connor's Day after his domination in the UFC?
Well, I think Nelson's a bit of a stretch, but you never know. Conor McGregor continues to add to his legacy. He's the first fighter to be a two-class champion in UFC history after his win at UFC 205 at Madison Square Garden, New York. He defeated Eddie Alvarez on Saturday to become the new lightweight champion, along with his current featherweight title. McGregor knocked out Alvarez in the second round to claim the title he always said would be his. Dana White, UFC president, has not said when he will start defending his two titles, but did say McGregor is the only person in the UFC who can carry this workload. There's never been a fighter with 3 titles, but could this be a possibility for the future? We'll have to wait and see what's next for McGregor. Now, Nelson, we had some exceptional football games on the weekend here in Canada and in Europe, but 2 different sports.
Yeah, Rob. So let's talk about the CFL first. The conference semifinals of the Canadian Football League happened yesterday and has set up some mouth-watering conference finals for next weekend. In the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Edmonton Eskimos beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats 24-21 in an exciting game in Hamilton. John White led the Eskimos to victory by running 160 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. It was not by accident that the run game was what made the difference, as Edmonton was second in the league on attacking on the ground with 103.7 yards per game. The Edmonton Eskimos will now play the Ottawa Red Blacks for the East Division final on Sunday. The other matchup was in the Western Conference, with the BC Lions beating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers during a thrilling game that ended 32-31 for the Lions. The Lions trailed by 25-6 at halftime before they turned it around to come back and take the game. Jonathan Jennings, the quarterback for the Lions, is responsible for the turnaround. He finished the night with 26 completions on 35 attempts, threw for 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The BC Lions will now take on the Calgary Stampeders on Sunday in Calgary. The winner of the 2 games will then play each other for the CFL Finals in Toronto at BMO Field on Sunday, November 27. Now for some European football. The final games of the year took place in World Cup qualifying this past week. Italy crushed Liechtenstein 4-0. Germany dominated San Marino 8-0. England defeated Scotland 3-0, and Portugal beat Latvia 4-1. This weekend, Ronaldo ties Gerd Müller and Robbie Keane for 4th all-time in European goals with 68. Ronaldo is now only behind Miroslav Klose of Germany, Sandor Kocic, and Ferenc Puskas at number 1 with 84. There are more games on this weekend, and not just the CFL and World Cup. What are your takes on this weekend's top games, Rob?
Well, I have 5, Nelson. Looking back at the best games of the weekend, here's what you missed out on. At number 5 is the Timberwolves' blowout game against the Lakers, 125-99. Wiggins recorded a career-high 47 points and a travel. Oddly enough, the refs missed the call. At number 4 is the Montreal Canadiens versus Chicago Blackhawks. At 2-2 in the second, Patrick Kane danced around Jeff Petrie, muscled off Max Pacioretty, and fired home a stunning game-winning goal. In the number 3 slot is the Warriors' victory against the Suns. The nail-biting victory saw Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson fire home 30 points. Kevin Durant scored 29 in the 133-120 win. At number 2, the Seattle Seahawks serve a cold plate of revenge against the Patriots in Foxborough, winning 31-24. Russell Wilson threw for 348 yards with 3 touchdowns. This still wasn't enough to get Tom Brady to say who he voted in the presidential election. And at number 1, how about them Cowboys? In America's Game of the Week, the Cowboys defeated the Steelers 35-30. Dak Prescott threw for 319 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 114 yards and recorded 95 receiving yards in the win. The rookie combos won 8 straight games for the boys. So I'm Robert Pillardi.
And I'm Nelson Santo.
And back to Kaylee for some more news.
Thanks, Rob and Nelson. The war in Syria continues as residents of Aleppo are urged to leave the city before a strategically planned assault is carried out. CNN has reported that the warning came in over text message early Sunday. The text was likely sent by the Syrian government, as it is the only party capable of sending a text to the masses. Syrian rebels have also been given the ultimatum that if they do not lay down their arms and renounce their leadership, they will be killed. The text seems to be a response to the rebel forces who are attempting to break the western siege in eastern Aleppo. New Zealand has been hit by several earthquakes. The first quake was measured at 7.8 magnitude, and it happened shortly after midnight. This quake caused 8-foot waves, the highest in at least 38 years. At around 1:30 p.m., a second quake measured at 6.2 struck the region. 2 people were killed, and the New Zealand Prime Minister John Key predicts at least $1 billion worth of dollars in damage.
In other environmental news, the United Nations Weather Agency predicts this year will be the hottest since tracking started in the late 1800s. This is the third year in a row that Earth's temperatures have shattered records. Average temperatures are 1.2 degrees higher than pre-industrial times, which is already close to the 1.5 degrees increase set by the Paris Accord. The UN Refugee Agency reported that around 22 million people are now climate refugees as they have been displaced by extreme weather conditions such as flooding and storms. That's your news today. I'm Daniel Plant.
I'm Kaylee Annette. Thank you so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.